I grew up poor, real poor, the kind of poor where every single day felt like a battle for survival. It wasn't just about not having the latest toys or gadgets, it was about the constant gnawing worry of whether there would be enough food on the table or if the electricity would stay on for another month. The kind of poor where you learn to make do with what little you have, and you become resourceful out of sheer necessity. We're talking government cheese and hand-me-down clothes poor. The kind of poor where you wear clothes that have been passed down through multiple siblings, each one more worn out than the last. Where a block of government-issued cheese was a staple in your diet, and you learned to be grateful for it because it was better than nothing. Shopping at secondhand stores wasn't a choice, it was a necessity. Every item of clothing, every piece of furniture, had a history that wasn't yours, but you made it your own. Every day was a struggle to make ends meet. My parents worked tirelessly, often juggling multiple jobs just to keep us afloat. I remember the look of exhaustion on their faces, the way they would count out change at the kitchen table, trying to stretch every dollar as far as it could go. We frequented soup kitchens and food banks, places that became a lifeline for us. The constant worry about money was a heavy burden that weighed on all of us, shaping our lives in ways that were hard to escape. I knew what it was like to go to bed hungry. The pangs of hunger were a familiar companion, a reminder of the scarcity that defined our lives. There were nights when dinner was little more than a piece of bread or a bowl of watery soup. I would lie in bed, my stomach growling, trying to ignore the emptiness inside. The refrigerator was often a barren landscape, its emptiness a stark contrast to the fullness of my hunger. It was a harsh reality that I learned to accept, even though it never got any easier. To feel the sting of other kids' laughter because of the holes in my shoes. School was a place where the differences between us and them were painfully obvious. My shoes, worn and full of holes, were a source of ridicule. The other kids, with their new clothes and shiny shoes, would laugh and tease, their words cutting deeper than any physical pain. It was a daily reminder of my place in the world, a world that seemed to have no room for someone like me. The playground, which should have been a place of joy, became a battleground where I fought to hold on to my dignity. Poverty felt like a trap. It was an invisible cage that held us in place no matter how hard we tried to break free. The walls of that cage were built from the limitations and barriers that poverty imposed on us. It was a constant, suffocating presence that dictated every aspect of our lives. The hopelessness was palpable, a heavy fog that clouded our vision and made it hard to see any way out. We were stuck in a cycle that seemed unbreakable, each day blending into the next with no promise of change. A never-ending cycle of despair and hopelessness. It was like being on a treadmill, running as fast as you could but never getting anywhere. The streets we walked were run down and filled with reminders of our struggles. Our home, dimly lit and cramped, was a reflection of our circumstances. There were moments of togetherness, but they were often overshadowed by the weight of our situation. The darkness of our surroundings mirrored the darkness we felt inside, a constant reminder of the life we were trapped in. It felt like I was stuck. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't see a way out. Opportunities were scarce, and the few that existed seemed just out of reach. I would stand in the middle of alleys, feeling the weight of the world on my shoulders, wondering if things would ever change. The help-wanted signs in windows were a cruel joke, promising hope but delivering disappointment. Sitting on the curb, I would watch the world go by, feeling like a spectator in my own life, unable to change the course of my destiny. Like I was destined to live the same life as everyone else around me. School offered no escape. Jobs were scarce. Education, which was supposed to be a ticket out, felt like another dead end. The classrooms were empty, both literally and figuratively, offering little in the way of hope or opportunity. The buildings around us, with their for rent signs and dilapidated conditions, were a testament to the economic decline that plagued our community. Job fairs were crowded with people just like us, all vying for the same limited opportunities, all hoping for a chance to break free from the cycle. Hope was a luxury I couldn't afford. It was something that seemed reserved for other people who didn't have to worry about where their next meal was coming from, or how they were going to pay the rent. Our lives were consumed by the immediate needs of survival, leaving little room for dreams or aspirations. The stack of bills on the table was a constant reminder of our financial struggles, each one a weight that dragged us down further. Silence often filled our home, a silence born of worry and resignation. In those quiet moments, it was hard to imagine a future that looked any different from our present. Back then, I thought this was all life had to offer. I couldn't see beyond the confines of our circumstances. The streets I walked were filled with people who seemed just as lost as I was, each of us searching for something we couldn't quite define. Looking at my reflection in a cracked mirror, I saw a person who was struggling to hold on to hope, a person who was trying to find a way out of the darkness. My family, sitting together with solemn expressions, was a constant reminder of the weight we all carried. It was a heavy burden, but it was the only life I knew. One day, everything changed. It was a day like any other, or so I thought. The sun rose, casting a golden hue over the city, but there was something different in the air, a sense of anticipation, a feeling that something significant was about to happen. Little did I know my life was on the brink of transformation. I met an old man, a mentor, in the most unexpected place, a small, cozy diner tucked away in a quiet corner of the city. He had a presence that commanded attention, and his eyes sparkled with wisdom and experience. We struck up a conversation and I found myself drawn to his words, eager to learn from him. Who taught me a powerful lesson: our thoughts have power. He spoke with such conviction, explaining how our mindset shapes our reality. His words were like a beacon of light, illuminating the dark corners of my mind. I had never considered the impact of my thoughts before, but his message resonated deeply within me. He said, poverty isn't just about money, it's a poverty of the mind. This concept was revolutionary to me. I had always equated poverty with a lack of financial resources, but he challenged me to see it differently. He urged me to look beyond the surface and understand the deeper implications of my beliefs and attitudes. His words hit me like a ton of bricks. It was as if he had unlocked a door in my mind, revealing a world of possibilities I had never imagined. I felt a mix of emotions: shock, curiosity, and a burning desire to change. I knew I couldn't ignore this newfound awareness. Could it be true? Could my thoughts be holding me back? I began to question everything I had ever believed about myself and my potential. I spent hours reflecting, examining my inner dialogue, and confronting the negative thoughts that had been my constant companions for as long as I could remember. I started to pay attention to my inner dialogue. I realized that my mind was a battlefield, and I had been losing the war. My thoughts were filled with self-doubt, fear, and limiting beliefs that had kept me trapped in a cycle of mediocrity. It was time to take control and rewrite the narrative of my life. I realized I was full of self-doubt and limiting beliefs. These thoughts had become so ingrained that I accepted them as truth without question. But now, with the old man's wisdom as my guide, I began to challenge these beliefs and replace them with empowering thoughts that aligned with the person I wanted to become. I thought things like, I'm not good enough, I'll never amount to anything, and success is for other people, not for me. These thoughts had been my constant companions, whispering in my ear and sabotaging my efforts. But now, I was determined to silence them and reclaim my power. I'll never amount to anything, I told myself. But I knew that if I continued to believe this, it would become a self-fulfilling prophecy. I had to break free from this mental prison and start believing in my potential. It was a daunting task, but I was ready to face it head-on. And success is for other people, not for me. I had always envied those who seemed to achieve their dreams effortlessly, but now I understood that their success was a result of their mindset. If I wanted to change my life, I had to start by changing my thoughts. It was the beginning of a new journey, one filled with hope and possibility. My mentor taught me to challenge those negative thoughts. He emphasized that our minds are powerful tools, capable of shaping our reality. He said that the first step to taking control of my life was to take control of my thoughts. Negative thoughts can be like weeds in a garden, he explained, and if left unchecked, they can overrun everything. But just as a gardener tends to their plants, I could tend to my mind. He said, replace those lies with the truth. He encouraged me to write down the negative thoughts that plagued me, and then counter them with positive truths. For instance, if I thought I wasn't good enough, I would write down all the reasons why I was. This exercise was not just about writing, it was about reprogramming my mind to see the good in myself and my potential. So I did. I started feeding my mind with positive affirmations. Every morning, I would read these affirmations aloud, letting the words sink in. I surrounded myself with positivity. From the books I read to the people I spent time with, it was a conscious effort to create an environment that nurtured my growth and well-being. I began to believe in myself and my ability to create a better life. This newfound confidence was reflected in my actions. I started setting goals and working towards them with a sense of purpose. I realized that my past did not define my future, and I had the power to shape my destiny. This shift in mindset was a game changer. Suddenly, I had energy and motivation. I woke up each day with a sense of excitement, eager to tackle the challenges ahead. I found joy in the process of working towards my dreams, and this positive energy was contagious. It affected every aspect of my life, from my relationships to my work. I wasn't afraid to work hard and chase my dreams. I understood that success required effort and perseverance, and I was ready to give it my all. Late nights and early mornings became the norm, but I didn't mind. I was driven by a vision of a better future, and that vision kept me going, even when things got tough. I realized I had the power to change my circumstances. It wasn't going to be easy, but I was determined to break free from the chains of poverty. I knew that the journey ahead would be filled with obstacles, but I was ready to face them head-on. With each step forward, I grew stronger and more resilient. I learned that taking control of my life was not just about changing my thoughts, but also about taking action and making choices that aligned with my goals. And in doing so, I discovered a sense of empowerment that I had never felt before. Section 4, Small Steps, Big Impact. The first step was the hardest. I had to break free from the negative influences around me. I had to distance myself from those who didn't believe in my dreams. I surrounded myself with positive, supportive people who encouraged my growth. I started small. I took on extra shifts at work. I learned new skills. I saved every penny I could. It wasn't about getting rich quick. It was about building a solid foundation for a better future. Section 5, The Power of Belief. The more I believed in myself, the more others believed in me too. Opportunities started to present themselves. Doors that were once closed began to open. I realized that success wasn't about luck, it was about preparation meeting opportunity. Most importantly, I learned to embrace failure. I saw setbacks not as defeats but as opportunities to learn and grow. Every mistake, every rejection, made me stronger and more resilient. Section 6, Breaking Free. It wasn't an overnight success story, it took years of hard work, dedication, and an unwavering belief in myself. But I did it. I broke free from the cycle of poverty that had held my family captive for generations. And you know what? You can too. It all starts with a change in mindset. Believe in yourself. Invest in yourself. Surround yourself with the right people. And never, ever give up on your dreams. Section 7, A Future Without Limits. Today, I'm living proof that your past doesn't define your future. You have the power within you to create the life you've always wanted. It won't be easy, but I promise you it will be worth it. So take that first step, make that change. Embrace the power of a positive mindset. The future is yours to create. Go out there and make it happen. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel for more inspiring content.